So far, my favourite action cam is the Osmo Action. The reason being, it's got a pretty good sound, it's got a pretty good picture, and it's really reliable. In fact, this has never ever locked or done anything on me. So I really like this camera. But today, we're looking at the two colour profiles that it offers. For me, these profiles are more useful when I'm trying to control things like contrast. So for instance, if you're out in the bright sunshine, you want to control it and not have so much contrast out there because the shadows go black and the highlighted areas get burnt out. And you get the same kind of thing, for instance, in theatres as well, with lights and spotlights. So you need to be able to sometimes control the amount of contrast that's going on inside your camera. And those profiles can actually help. So I went down to the local pond to take some pictures with this, and I made a classic beginner's error, set everything up and started shooting and got all my pictures. And when I got home, I found out I'd filmed it at 240 frames a second. So because this is a test of the picture, I'm not too worried about the frame rate. So what I did was I just got the 240 frames per second and I've rendered it in 50. It doesn't really match, but since there's not a lot of movement, I don't think you're going to see too much of it, although you might well see a little bit of flicker maybe, I don't know, depending on what you're watching. But at least it gives some idea of what these profiles look like. So let's have a look at the mess that I made. So looking at those pictures, I guess you can see instantly that standard to D-Cinelike, you get much less contrast. And again, that's very useful when it's sunny or you've got very deep blacks and very white whites where you've got a huge range of contrast. That can help. The reason it helps is not because it's any better particularly than the normal one, I think. What happens is I think it just gives you just a little scope, because what it's doing is it's flattening the picture, and then you can just raise the contrast in post just to the amount that you want, rather than let the camera just make a decision for you. So if you're good at editing and you can change the contrast slightly, or even better, adjust the black level slightly, that helps a lot. And in many of the shots, what I'm finding is I leave the highlights where they are, and I just move the low lights. I call it the low lights, the black, move the black level up and down until I've got the contrast range that I actually want. And it's good for that. I don't particularly think there's much more detail, but you have got more control of the contrast range that you can get from your camera. And for that reason, I think D-Cinelike is a very useful profile if you're in a very high contrast situation. So come on, DJI or Osmo, when are you going to produce an Action 2? You produce an Action 2, I think you could have a killer camera. But before you produce the killer camera, I've got a few little requests if you're listening. 1, get the lens to focus just a little bit closer if you can. 2, could you offer 2 tracks or stereo sound? 3, could you offer different fields of view? You know, wide angle and a bit more telephoto as well, like the GoPro. Don't want to mention the name, sorry. And 4, could you put a 1/4-inch socket on the bottom of the camera so we can get it on a tripod without a case? And if you do that, you're going to have a killer action cam for sure. Hope to see you next time. Cheers for now.